There are big events that take place every week in the NFL, and Week 12 is no different. With all but one game to play, there are certainly big takeaways from this week, and that's what we'll discuss in today's video, are the biggest takeaways from Week 12. The NFL is unfortunately winding down as there are just 5 more regular season weeks to go before the playoffs, but before I get started, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first takeaway is the NFL has to do something about the refs. There was a blatant call against the Cowboys that was called tripping, and as a neutral fan in this game, it was a horrendous call. This is the type of call that when people say Tom and the Pats get all the calls, this is what they're referring to. I'm not proposing what the NFL does to the refs by any means, but I think a good starting point would be to add pressure to them and pay extra attention to the crew for the next game or two if they blatantly miss calls or make calls like this. This can't continue, and with how bad the refs have been in the past few years, with Jesse James as the Steelers against the Patriots in 2017, the Clay Matthews roughing the passers in 2018, the Saints game last year that should have sent the Saints to the Super Bowl, the refs robbing the Lions earlier this year, something needs to be done. The league goes through everything from reviewing pass interferences, which has been horrible by the way, to reviewing scoring touchdowns and adding flags in at times. The officiating is awful. The next takeaway is do not take the Raiders as a serious playoff threat. The Raiders lost to the Jets Sunday 34-3, and Derek Carr threw for just 127 yards and an interception. Rookie of the Year candidate Josh Jacobs ran for 34 yards on 10 carries, with one of them going for 15. Take that away and his stats in the day are just 9 carries for 19 yards. It was an ugly day, and the Raiders have now lost 4 of their 5 games by double digits. They are currently the 7th seed in the AFC, and the Titans are hot as the 8th seed. The Steelers are currently the 6th seed, and the Bills are the 5th, and I don't see the Bills losing for the next 5 to lose the wildcard spot. And with the Steelers' quarterback situation, I don't think they get in the playoffs, but I don't think the Raiders do either. If the Raiders miraculously somehow get in as the 6th seed wildcard, I expect them to lose by double digits in the first game. Oakland's season, as far as I'm concerned, is over. The next takeaway is the 49ers are legit and the Packers are not. The 49ers thumped the Packers 37-8 on Sunday night, and as a Vikings fan, it was awesome to sit back and enjoy the Packers getting their asses kicked on primetime TV. I've been saying for a while the Packers are not that good, and it's a matter of time before everyone realizes it. Having Aaron Rodgers at quarterback obviously helps the team win games, but they thoroughly got beat Sunday night. The 49ers defense is one of the best in the league, and aside from New England, I think it is the best in the league, and they moved to 10-1 on the year. If I were an NFC team and had to go out to Levi Stadium in the playoffs, they may be the least team I would want to see in the playoffs as defense wins championships, and they very well may carry Jimmy Garoppolo to a Super Bowl title. The Packers, at minimum, would have to go to New Orleans and then San Francisco just to get to the Super Bowl this season, and I simply don't see that happening. They may win a wildcard game if they win the NFC North, or I could even see them going into Dallas and winning a game there, but I just don't see any way the Packers get to Miami for Super Bowl 54. The next takeaway is that maybe Carson Wentz isn't as good as we thought he was. Let me just say first that Carson Wentz hasn't had great receivers this year, with Alshon and Deshaun both being out for a lot of the time, and his receivers have had their fair share of drops to say the least. The most notable thing about the Eagles season in 2019 is a guy in the streets of Philadelphia getting kids out of a fire saying we're catching them unlike Aguilar. Carson Wentz on the year has 17 touchdowns to 6 interceptions and is 5-6 in 11 games. Carson is already 27 years old, and to be completely honest, I don't know how much more he can develop as a quarterback, given that he's already in his 4th season, and he's 27 years of age. In 3 of 4 seasons, obviously excluding the 2017 season which they won the Super Bowl, Carson has just a 17-21 record, and 6 of those 17 wins have come against the Redskins and Giants. I like Carson and want him personally to succeed, and I know his teammates only praise how hard of a worker he is, but whether or not he's the answer in Philly is a serious question right now. This is not a good look for a quarterback who just received over $100 million in guaranteed money fresh off of the extension. The final takeaway from Week 12 is the Browns are still the Browns, and they're not doing anything in 2019 despite a 17-point win. The Browns killed the Dolphins 41-24 Sunday, and Baker Mayfield threw for over 325 yards and 3 touchdowns in the win. They looked like the team that everyone, myself included, hyped them up to be before the season started. They now sit at 5-6, and with a game against the Steelers next week, they can finish the season 10-6 if they win out, which would more than likely get the 6th seed in the wildcard, assuming the Titans lose 1 game between now and Week 17. They may beat the Steelers next week in the first game since the Myles Garrett helmet game, and be 6-6 and fully in the hunt for the final spot. However, down the stretch, they play at the Cardinals and home against the Ravens, and they are both games that I think are losses. The Ravens game is a for sure loss in my opinion, and the Cardinals have been competitive in all of their games since week 5 aside from the Saints game, so there's definitely a possibility the Browns go out to the desert and lose. I just don't see the Browns doing anything in 2019, and it's definitely due to how poorly they started. Anyway, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Again, thank you for watching, and have a great day. Skol Vikes.